Good morning, everyone. Welcome back for another video. So in today's case, we're gonna have a scenario in front of us. We're gonna have a deep brain stimulator, which I'm gonna go with you the criteria if we can scan it at all. And then we have the protocols. We're gonna do abdominal liver imaging along with the bile duct system. So without further ado, let's go. Thanks for tuning in on my channel, guys. For those who are new, my name is back again. I'm an MRI radiographer. So in my channel, I'm covering things from basic to advanced MRI topics, tutorials, just like this one. If you haven't subscribed yet, considering doing so. In a daily routine, we have a patient which comes with implants or have different things inside of their body, which is not always MR safe or unsafe, but rather MR conditional. So you have to follow certain criteria to be able to scan along with your protocol, and you have to check out your scanner, right? So this case we have in front of us now is a deep brain stimulator, and I'm gonna go through with all the criteria. So in this protocol of mine, which we are trying to tune up for this implant, there's specific one sequence which was very difficult to meet the limit, and I had to think outside the box. This is the reason I'm making these videos. I want to share with you guys how we did it. Before we go to the scanner, I just want to find some information regarding this stimulator and go through with you on that one. So we have a Boston Scientific, and I found this information in their webpage. So it's very great overview and easy to find. So this is a deep brain stimulator, and let's scroll down here. And we have either a lead-only systems or a full system. What we have in front of us is a full system, and I will let you know what kind of system this patient have. Let's go down here to page 9. This is lead-only system. Here we go, the full system. Okay, so this means that you can do the scanning if you meet the criteria which is set for this implant, right? And along with the scanner, what kind of criteria you have to follow. So let's go down here. So we have in front of us a Gevia system. Okay. So what a Gevia system can have leads of either 2201 or 2202. So we have a Gevia system, that's okay. And the other one, we have a DB 2202 leads. Okay, that's easy. So we have to follow these criteria. We have to be at 1.5 Tesla, check. We have to meet the criteria of maximum spatial field gradient of 4,000 gauss per centimeter, checked. And we have to have a slew rate which is less or equal to 200, checked. This is the important part, which can be a little bit difficult to understand. What it means here that the active scanning, the total scanning from the localizer to the end of your sequence should not exceed 30 minutes. This can be less, but should not exceed. Okay, so the examination can be, let's say, 40 minutes, that's okay, because you have a break or you're talking to the patient or so on and so on. So whenever your scan is active, that's where you should count the clock. So it should not be exceeded for 30 minutes. And the maximum B1 plus RMS. We should meet that criteria as well. Okay, so you have an overview right here. What we have in front of us is a full system with Gevia, and then we're not having a DB2201, so we can look away from that. We have this one, 2202. Okay, we're not being in the head, and we should not be here because this is for the other lead. We are in this side. Okay, so it says here if the isocent is above T12, okay, T12, the liver is around here, so yeah, we are above T12. Then we have to meet the criteria of B1 plus RMS at 1.2 or less. However, if you're going to scan a pelvis, or let's say lower lib, or so on, then you can have a higher B1 plus RMS at 2 or lower. So we know that our scanner is okay with the criteria, and what we have to do now is look at the protocol. We have to tune in the protocol to be at this B1 plus RMS 1.2 or less. Okay, so let's go over to the protocol. So the protocol is like this. We're going to have to answer the clinical question. We have to look at the liver parenchyma, and then the other part, we have to look at the bile duct system. Are there any bile stones, and so on and so on. Okay, So the localizer, we're using a flash localizer, 0.6 B1 plus RMS. It's already tuned in. I made this protocol. And we have a hazed coronal and transversal to get an overview of the liver in and out of phase. And then you have a thick slab for the bile duct system. And you have a MRCP thin slab for the bile duct system. And then you have the diffusion. And then you have the T2 space fat sat, kind of a tubuspinacal fat sat, right? You have the care bolus for the dynamic part. You have to time it to get the arterial phase, the portovenous phase, the equilibrium phase, and then we have a 5 minutes and a 10-minute scan. So this is the protocol. If you add up all this together, we should be around at 16 minutes or so in the protocol. But remember, we want it to be below 30 because you know that the respiratory triggering is very tricky. Sometimes the patient is breathing badly and then you have to do a rescan. Or let's say you have a bad in-out of phase gradient and you have to do the rescan, because whenever you do a rescan, you have to add up this time, right? So it's better to be a little bit below so you have a little buffer to do a rescan if you need so. And the protocol is ended up like this. All the other sequences here was not difficult to meet the criteria of 1.2 B1 RMS, but one sequence was very difficult, and we had to think outside the box, and this is the one, the thin slice MRCP. We know that the space MRCP is very flip angle, right? So it should be SAR friendly, but the space in our protocols was very difficult. But nevertheless, I'm going to show you. So let's go to the scanner. Okay, so this is just a phantom in front of you because, of course, I couldn't do the recording whenever I had a patient, and so I had to focus on making the protocol, of course. Nevertheless, we're doing a phantom now, and I'm going to show you how we did from the start to the bottom for this one specific sequence, T2 space. So what you see in front of you here now, this is the original sequence, and we have a phantom, and the weight of this phantom is 80 kilo and 180 height. So let's play that one, and let's check this out. I'm just going to do a position here, and of course we're at 1.5 Tesla and we are at the software E11E. So you have to go into edit properties and you have to put on the execution here, wait for user to start. Why so? That's when you know the B1 RMS before you start the scan, right? So it's doing the shimming, it's doing everything, and then it pops up the B1 plus RMS, and then you can see are you above or below 1.2. So always tick that on. This is the more or less the original one from the protocol, which is not modified. It's just optimized for overall patients group, right? Not for this deep brain stimulation. So let's check this one. We have an exam pause here. It's finished. The shimming is finished, and then we're going to check out the B1 plus RMS and see how it is. Down here you have B1 plus RMS. 41%. It's very difficult to know there, right? But here you have a more detailed. You see here 4.1. That's too high, so we need to fix this protocol very much. So let's close that one. And let's open this sequence again. Okay, there are certain parameters which we need to check. So the one of them is the RF pulse. Let's go to low SAR. You know, there are so many parameters which you can just fix and change to get the limit to meet the criteria. However, you also have to keep in your mind that you want to have okay images. You want to have good images to answer the clinical question. So this is exactly what I'm doing here now. So we have a low SAR now. We just changed one parameter. We're going to check. Okay. So now we are at 3.5. We went from 4.1 to 3.5 with just one change of the RF pulse. It's not good enough yet, so we have to do another changes. So my next change was, let's see, TR. Let's increase the TR. We went from 1005 to 4000 milliseconds. Let's see what the kind of impact this gives on a sequence. And you know that whenever you're adding the TR, the scan time increases, right? So we went from around 2 or so minutes to now 4.5 minutes. And we also have to take in consideration that this is before the respiratory triggering. We all know that whenever the respiratory triggering kicking in, it might take longer time. So 3.5. was the last, and now we are at 2.6. Okay, the TR is helping us to lower the B1 plus RMS, but we are not there yet. We have to go down to 1.2 or less. So let's do another test here. Let's go for 10,000. That's extremely high. 10,000, like it's 10 minutes of scan time. It's not real at all, but I just want to show you the impact of the TR, what it gives. Okay, let's check this one out. And now we are at 2, right? So we are going lower and lower and lower, but this is not reality. You cannot add up 10,000 TR. It's too high. But we know that the TR is giving an impact. So we have to change that again. So let's go down to 4,000 because is okay for the scan time, but I still find it a little bit too long. So let's reduce this one a little bit, the averages. Now we are 3 minutes, okay? So the next thing I'm going to think in my mind is that I'm going to change the resolution a little bit. I'm going to give up my sharp images for having an okay images, just to solve the clinical question. So I'm giving up my face resolution and slice resolution, just trying to meet the criteria. And now the scan time is a little bit lower, right? We went from 3 minutes to 2 minutes now. And it just have a little bit thicker slice thickness. So I'm doing a head, feet, face over sampling. Just add up a little bit face over sampling so I won't get overfolding. And then since we went from 1.2 to 1.3, we can now reduce the slices a little bit just to maybe reduce the scan time a little bit. Yeah. And the field of view, I just want to tailor the field of view specific to the area of interest. So we went from 380 or so to 320. So we are having the same resolution here now, but we have the field of view which is smaller because we changed the base resolution as well. And there's a lot of thinking whenever you're doing this, right? So because I want to keep the time down, I want to meet the criteria of the B1 plus RMS, I also want to keep the image quality. So we did a lot of changes now. Most of them was for the resolution. We went down on the TR again from 10,000 to 4,000. And let's check now what kind of criteria we were meeting when it comes to the B1 plus RMS. We were last time at 2, and now we are at 2.6 again. However, the sequence now is more tailored when it comes to the image quality. So we need to do a few more changes to get the B1 plus RMS down. So, okay, let's do another thinking. Change the turbo factor from 270 to 2. Let's see if it meets any good. We were at 2.6 and now we are at 2.4. Okay, not much, a little bit. So the echo train gives also an impact. But the scan time is increasing again, right? We were at around 2 minutes or so, and now we are at 2:43. So let's change a little bit. Field of view face here. Let's see if it's possible to get the scan time a little bit low. So now we are at around 2 minutes again. And you see the signal relative SNR here is 0.77, but don't mind that now because you did a lot of changes. You apply the sequence and then it just reset to 1. So in theory, you don't know what you are in the actual because you can be very high or it could be very low. So don't mind that. What you should mind is that each parameter you're changing, you should know what happens. So just have this as an overview, knowing that you're changing this and changing that, and they will add up, add down. But the reality, you don't know. So we're changing a little bit of a bandwidth. So the thing about this sequence MRCP, we all know that it has to be constant, right? Whenever it's constant, you get a good images, you get a very dark background, and you get the bile duct very clearly. So this parameter, which I'm about to change now, was changing the whole game. which I didn't think about when I was directly at the scanner, but it came to my mind. And again, thinking outside the box, we have to change the sequence. So the flip angle of 140 is high. So what we do now, we have to do the T2 variable. So it's a whole different flip angle mode, right? So now the flip angle is gone. So T2 variable means that it variables with the flip angle. It goes from maybe 110, 120, and it varies. It's not constant of 140, which was set, and which is also regular whenever you're doing a standard MRC. We were in our last at 2.4 B1 plus RMS. Let's check now with only one this specific parameter changes. Voila, we are now at 1.3. But still, we have to change one more small step. So without changing the flip angle mode, I was not able to push the limit so low as this. Okay? Remember that. The flip angle mode have a great impact on this sequence. But you also have to think that the results might be a little bit different from what you used to, right? So we're going to check. Okay. The last thing, we have saturation bands. Do we need saturation bands? Yeah, actually we do, but can I let go of it? Can I let go of it to reduce the B1 plus RMS? Let's try. Okay, I just let go of that one now. And we all know that our last change was at 1.3 and now we're at 1.2. Voila, 1.2. That's exactly where we want to be. But the last part is, okay, we meet the criteria now, but is the sequence good enough to answer the clinical question? Show you some images. Okay, this is the images. It looks a little bit different, right? The tissue of the liver parenchyma is now enhancing. It should not. It should be very dark, while the bile duct should stand out. You have the different variation there. So it's different because of flip angle mode. But this is what I had to do to meet the criteria of the implant. Nevertheless, we are seeing the bile duct clearly. And if you're looking here, you also see the stones. And we can see the bile duct system is not stenosis, it's not dilated, big. And the pancreas is nice. It's a great overview of the case. It's not the world's best images. However, the answer of the clinical question is yes, we could answer the clinical question. All right, so the last thing I want to show you that I was very curious. So you had already made a protocol, now you save it. What about the next patient? Will the B1 plus RMS be at the same value whenever you're punching in the different patient weight, right? So this is the second patient, just a test. So this patient is thinner. It's 20 kilo and 1.60 centimeter high. And we're going to do the same sequence here. We're going to just open that one. And this is the same sequence which I had in the protocol, which is meet the criteria of the B1 plus RMS. We're just going to do a fast position here, and we're going to do a scan. And we're going to check the B1 plus RMS. Voila, it's at 1.2. What does this mean? This means that I can save the protocol and call it 1.2 B1 plus RMS, and I can use this protocol in the future for different patients with this implant. Or if you have a different implant which should meet the criteria of the B1 plus RMS, I can also use that. I know I can be safe that it meets the criteria of 1.2 in this case, right? So this is the good part whenever having the B1 plus RMS, because you can save it, you can reuse it whenever you need to. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you find this video valuable. Sometimes we just have to think outside the box to solve the case, right? Even though you don't get the world's best images, but are the images good enough to answer the clinical question? That is the most important part, right? Before we close up, I do have a question for you. Do you use software which automatically tune in your sequences for certain criteria? Or do you use the old school way, just like what we did here? Please let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, do not forget to push the like button and hit the subscribe, hit on the notification bell so you get a ding ding whenever new things from me are coming up. I will catch up with you in my next video. Peace out.